As a fee-only financial advisor for the past 20 years, one of the questions I get asked is, hey, Azul, how much does the average middle class American family need to save for retirement? It's a super important question, so let's talk about it. And you know, the first thing that we have to do is define what it means to be middle class in America. And the most recent data we have on that is the 2020 census. And essentially they break down the US into different quintiles, but the median household income, not individual, but household, the median household income in 2020 was about $75,000, just a tad under that. And typically the definition of middle class is 2/3 to 2 times the median household income. So let's look at $75,000 up to 2 times $75,000, which is $150,000. And are those people dramatically different in how much they require to retire? And the short answer to that is they could be. They could be very different. And in fact, surprisingly, the person making $75,000 or the household making $75,000 a year might be in a better situation to be able to retire sooner than the person making more. And I know that sounds crazy, but let me share some stats with you. The well over half, I shouldn't say well over, just over half of people in the United States, households in the United States that make over $100,000 a year don't save a dime. And remember, it's not how much you make, it's how much you save. And it's not enough to just save, you also have to invest that money, right? So this is why somebody that makes, a household that makes $75,000 might be in better shape than a household that spends $150,000, right? If the household making $75,000 is comfortable, like myself, driving a used car instead of getting a new car every couple years, if they're more comfortable living within their means, if they figured out how to save at least 10% of their salary, which I think is where we need to start. I wish that was enough for the average person to save for retirement. I think the number is actually closer to 15 to 25%. And I know that's hard to do. And it's aspirational. And you start where you are. But again, if the family making $75,000 a year has developed these foundational savings skills and have been investing their money wisely for several decades, they could be well ahead of the family that's making $150,000. So let's jump into some more of the details and more of the facts of what we need to be thinking about, right? And so let's just put everything on a level playing field. Let's make this as simple as we can for the sake of this video. And let's say after Social Security and other income streams, maybe you have a rental property that's cash flow positive, but let's say from just our investment accounts, so other than Social Security, other than other sources of income, let's say that we need $10,000 a year to come off of these accounts. And if you're thinking, hey, Azul, that's a pretty small number. Well, you can double the math that I'm doing here, or you can triple it very easily, right? So if you need an extra $10,000 a year to come off of your investment, Bill Bengen's rule of 4%, actually it's easier if you take the inverse of 4%, which is 25. You take the cash flows that you need off of your investments, and you multiply that by 25, it's going to get you in the ballpark. And that's $250,000. So if you say, hey, Azul, I really want $20,000, then the base that you're going to need for that 4% to come off of, you just double that. Instead of $250,000, you're going to need $500,000. Hopefully that makes sense. So if you need $40,000, right, 4 times that, you're going to need $1 million. So again, you just multiply 40,000 that you need by 25, and the numbers all work out because 4% of $1 million is 40,000, right? But it's important that you understand what's required for that 4% rule to quote unquote work. And there's no guarantees that it's going to work. This is not financial advice. All of this is just for educational purposes, for you to look things up yourself and or in my opinion, even better, work with a fee-only financial advisor to have them go through, this is complicated, and for the sake of this video, I'm making it simple. But getting back to the case, let's say you need $10,000 a year coming from the account, so you need to have $250,000 coming in. Now, it's important to remember that Bill Bengen, that money's not sitting in a bank deposit. You need to beat inflation over time. And so Bengen's study had people about half in the stock market to 60% in the stock market. And just because it worked in the past doesn't mean it's going to work in the future. But from that 4% was derived from something called a Monte Carlo simulation. And that's something that a fee-only financial advisor can run for your specific situation to see, what the numbers are that's right for you. So again, going back to this middle-class family, who's in a better state? Now, let's say that this $75,000 a year family, let's say that they were, let's say 20%, right? So they're saving $15,000 a year. So let's just, again, I'm making up numbers, but let's say that after taxes, right, they were living on $50,000 a year. They were saving some money. They were paying taxes collectively. Let's just say that was $25,000. So they need $50,000 a year to live on. So again, using that rule of 25 or the rule of 4%, that would say that they need a little, but it's not all coming from their savings, right? So, sorry, I got one step ahead of myself. You have to subtract how much Social Security. So let's say Social Security, the average check is $1,800 a month, according to the Social Security Administration, right? So let's call that $20,000 a year. So this family outside of Social Security that was living on $50,000 before retiring, let's say they want all of that money. So that's $30,000. So that means they need to have $750,000 outside of Social Security. I'm just taking that 30,000 and multiplying it by 25. But if they're willing to live on less than that, right, then they would need less. But let's say this family that's making double that, 150,000, let's say they need $100,000 a year. And let's say that, Social Security, let's say that outside of Social Security, that they need $75,000 coming in from their investments. Well, that's quite a bit more. I've given myself hard math here. So that's quite a bit more. It's a little under $2 million that family would need. So that's how much that's how the high level you would think about how much does a middle class family need to retire. And again, I'd encourage you to see a fee-only financial advisor. I'd also encourage you to watch these two videos. This one here that encourage you to stop doing 8 things after you turn 60 to enjoy life more, not to sacrifice, but to enjoy life more. In this video down here that talks about financial benchmarks, and I bet you're likely richer than you think you are. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.